Warrior, the object is for our racers to find and defeat the evil Dragon Lord. To get to him, they'll be searching caves and towns for the Stones of Sunlight, Silver Harp, and Erdrick's Token. Now, that harp will be exchanged for the Staff of Rain, and it'll all be traded in for the Rainbow Drop, which will allow our runners to enter Charlotte Castle, the home of the Dragon Lord. They'll also be fighting enemies one at a time to gain experience and levels to get stronger, as well as gold to purchase weapons, armor, and items to help in their quest. And that quest is starting now, and we're going to see what items are in the treasure chest. We've got some big bucks. We've got a dragon scale. That'll help early. That adds 2 defense points to their total, and the obligatory magic key that will help them get out of there. And no spells to possibly help them keep their key. So we're going to use that key, head on out, add the 2 defense points by putting on the dragon scale, as they both have. Going to save with the king, so that way they can hopefully preserve their gold and then go out to try to fight some of those enemies. Now, a little bit of a twist here in Chaos. All of the enemies' statistics, their strength, their agility, their hit points, their experience, and gold that they give are all going to be randomized. So as you see here, mcgrew hitting a golem, one of the toughest enemies in the game. Not quite as tough, but still packing a pretty good punch.
Yeah, now in Chaos Seeds, when you start with gold, that can be even more valuable than it is in Standard, because first of all, you're going to have some trouble gaining experience in the beginning anyways, and a lot of the shops could have some really good stuff for cheap, so finding a town with this gold could be priority here.
Well, that gets to the point of what is randomized. As you see, the map is, as well as the treasure chest contents and search spot contents, the town and cave locations, also the weapon and armor shop contents, the order of spells learned, although our racers are guaranteed to learn all 10 spells by level 16, the enemy locations, as you see, as well as the enemy spells and abilities, and we have Datyedyeguy already finding a town. He finds the town of Cole, and in the search spot, Erdrick's Token, one of those 3 key items needed in the game. Datyedyeguy finding it just about at the 2-minute mark here in this race already. And as you see here, the weapon and armor prices are randomized in Dragon Warrior Randomizer. The magic armor costing 56 gold. Usually in the vanilla version of the game, it costs 7,700.
So of note here, we have a broadsword for 1,500 and a silver shield for later in the game for around 6,000. Silver shield in particular, they'll probably make a note of so that they could perhaps come back later on for that.
Most certainly.
But no weapons available in the early shop, which is unfortunate in terms of getting started with killing some monsters in the early game here, but the magic armor should help quite a bit for survivability.
mcgrew, meanwhile, has found a skeleton with stop spell. And Datyeplet01 noting in chat, 1527 broadsword, is this even randomized? Not too far off of its standard vanilla price of 1,500, so a little bit more expensive. Just slightly. Now for the Chaos Tournament, the added twists to Dragon Warrior Randomizer, as I mentioned, the weapon and armor prices are randomized, the enemy statistics, as well as the amount of experience needed to go from one level to the next. All of those are randomized. Plus, once we get to the Dragon Lord, there are a few specific things with them as well. And
here we go.
Has a level.
With 1 hit point remaining, he manages to take down that Druid Lord because he had that magic armor equipped. The Druid Lord was doing much less damage than it will otherwise.
And he
up to
jumped
level
up
3, I think, in one jump, it looks like.
A huge advantage early.
And another 78 points for level 4. So, the Datyedyeguy off to a good start. Less than 5 minutes into the seed here. I'm kind of wondering when mcgrew is going to venture out with this gold and see if he can find the same town that the Datyedyeguy did.
What both of our runners were looking for is now Datyedyeguy taking out a golem for 103 and 84. And he goes up another level.
Yeah, so I didn't catch the exact stat gains, but those first 2 levels probably gave him a nice power boost, so he was able to take down the golem a lot easier than he would at level 1.
He's also got a couple of spells in there of Hurt and Return.
Oh, Hurt is a really nice spell early. He should be using that on all the enemies he can to see which ones are vulnerable.
Well, it doesn't look as though the Wraith is. mcgrew, meanwhile, working on a skeleton that might be what we've referred to as the wet noodle. There's one monster in the beginning 3 zones of the game, the zone around Tantagel Castle, as well as the zones directly north, south, east, and west of it, that's guaranteed to have 5 hit points or less, and also will not attack very hard, so the less hit points our players lose when a monster attacks, the more likely that it's the low hit point monster, but the challenge is determining which of those 15 potential monsters it is.
Yeah, now it seemed like he had done more than 5 damage to the skeleton last time, although of course skeleton only doing 0 to 1 damage to him, so if he could manage to outlast him, it's hard to know how many hit points he has, and there he goes.
The 103 and 164 for the skeleton, and that vaults him up to level 3 right around the 6-minute mark.
Yeah, good job by mcgrew. He had seen that skeleton previously and knew to try and hunt him down again. He looked for him in the same general zone, and I took him down for over 100.
And
now, I just saw him run away from a golem, whereas the Datyedyeguy managed to defeat a golem on level 3. So sometimes you have to revise your stereotypes of these monsters in a hurry as you gain levels.
Strategy coming into play huge ways here, as mcgrew, okay, needing 113 to get to level 4 total, and a Druin giving 178 and 151.
Yeah, the magic armor that the Datyedyeguy got in the early stretches there, I think is really helping him outlast a lot of these enemies, and it's paying off. He's out to an early experience lead now. mcgrew still has not explored to the south and has not seen that town yet. With this, he still has some gold in his possession.
And another level for the Datyedyeguy. He's up to level 7 already, just 7 minutes in. And yeah, that looks to be the monster to grind on, that Metal Scorpion, giving 211 experience points apiece.
Yeah, and the same area has the Druins as well, so this is going to be a good spot for the end game as well.
And they're both in that area, so mcgrew, once he finds one of those, oh, he's running away from the Druin, probably thinks it's a little too strong for him.
And even the Wraith Knight only doing 1 damage to the Datyedyeguy with that magic armor equipped. Unfortunately, it's not worth very much, so he'll make a note of that and maybe avoid that battle in the future.
And heal more now for the Datyedyeguy.
And let's see if he has enough for that broadsword now, unless he's just taking an in-stop here. Okay. Yeah, not quite enough yet. He needs about 1,500 total for the broadsword.
And mcgrew now finding coal.
Alright, and he'll grab the token off the ground, and presumably he'll have himself some magic armor as well.
That'll even up the exploration, but the experience advantage, about 800 for the Datyedyeguy. And the Wraith Knight's not giving much in terms of experience, but early on, 168 gold, not too shabby, as a couple of those could get him up to what he needs to get that broadsword to make it a little bit easier.
Yeah, honestly, before he goes off and dies, I would like to see him just go ahead and get that. He had the Druids, he had 2 or 3 enemies he was killing quite easily, and the further out you venture in Chaos, the more likely you are to hit something nasty out here. Let's see.
Well, he's already up to just over 100 hit points at level 8.
Yeah, 100 hit points and heal more is a pretty good combination, as well as the magic armor. So he can survive probably most monsters already.
Magicians with stop spell. And opts to run away.
Wow, look at this swamp out to the west, and not even hesitating, plunging right in.
Ooh, and a ghost has Dragon Lord breath. Oh, a large
bridge
swamp
that actually leads somewhere here. That's pretty awesome.
Ooh, and a bridge leading to 2 towns. One of them being Cantlin.
And 2 shops available already, even without keys. Let's see if he can find something helpful.
Oh, a flame sword for 126. That looks to be a pretty good deal. That's the second best sword in the game.
Wow, so it worked out well for him to not sit around and wait for the broadsword. He ventured out and found something even better for cheaper. Good job.
Oh, a large shield for over 12,000. I don't think that's going to be bought at any point in this seed.
Yeah, and I didn't notice any small shield anywhere yet, so about 6,000 for the silver shield available in coal. So eventually they might have an eye on that, and other than that, he's done buying stuff.
He's going to stop at the inn. The silver shield was found. It is 5,914. And it was found in coal, as well as here in Cantlin. And
so he'll use the remainder of this gold for some herbs and torches and any other things if he wants to grab some wings. And then he won't have much use for gold after this. His next priority now is to explore and maybe try and find some keys so that he can get into some locked locations for further progress.
And mcgrew is going to get to level 4, defeating a Wraith. So that's going to get him hurt in return. And Datyedyeguy has found Garanham.
And the small shield is
Small
over 10,000 as well.
Wow.
So the shields are expensive. I've seen some runs where they go to the Dragon Lord shieldless because it's just not worthwhile. We'll have to watch and see if they end up finding a way to acquire that silver shield later on.
We saw that as recently as last night with none other than our tracker High Spirits. As the silver shield was the least expensive of the 3, and it was upper 4 digits, as I believe the other 2. I think it was something like 4,000 versus 6,000 and 8,000 for the small and large shield.
So mcgrew only has about 100 experience points, but he does seem to be aware that this desert off to the west of Tantegel is a nice grind spot. He keeps trying to get these druids, which are worth quite a bit if he can get one. And I think he's hunting something else in particular in this desert and just fighting these things along the way. Now he's running from the druid, unfortunately, but good play here to try and grind up some experience. This is a nice area to do it.
Datyedyeguy taking out a Droll Magi for 7 gold or 7 experience and 21 gold. Either way, not going to be going back to it, as Amazing and Forest noting in chat. The last Droll Magi Datyedyeguy will ever kill, at least in this seed. And mcgrew taking out another Wraith for 25 and 72, and it's going to get him to level 5.
So all things considered, we're off to a pretty quick start as far as Chaos Seeds go. There are times when both runners may not even have any experience points yet. We're less than 15 minutes into the seed, and both of our players are into the middle levels already, and with some gear and some ability to defeat a lot of enemies. We've seen a handful of towns already, so they're in full exploration mode, trying to acquire the quest items as quickly as possible.
mcgrew getting a little more daring in terms of some of the enemies that he's facing. And the Datyedyeguy hitting for 27, 28, and a werewolf with Dragon Lord breath.
Yeah, and able to survive the hit with the high HP total he has, and with the heal more, it's no big deal. He's getting to be out of resources now, but that just shows you he's not in much danger at this point already. And level 9 now at least for the Datyedyeguy.
As mcgrew goes up to level 6.
Haven't seen any caves yet. They're all hiding in some corner of the world here so far. Inaccessible. Pretty soon they're going to want to find a couple of the dungeons. The mountain cave having 5 chests immediately available, and the grave having 3 out of 5 available immediately. That could be a way to get some keys, unless they could find the town of Rimildar. We have our first cave spotted from the Datyedyeguy, and it is some sort of dungeon. Looks to be Swamp North.
Swamp Cave North. So I'm going to traverse down, try to survive the enemies, and see where it leads on the other side.
Yeah, we could be backdooring into Garanham or Tantegel Castle, so it's worth exploring through. Both in the case of Tantegel, that's another way to access keys as well.
Stonemen, not exactly fruitful in the experience, but giving a good amount of gold, almost close to the max.
So it's notable that Hurtmore not available in the early levels, and the Datyedyeguy with that flame sword has a significant edge.
And relying now upon the herbs, realizing that you can't really do much in terms of healing with only 7 hit points and only having magic points rather, and only having heal more, which uses 8.
And it looks like that island has nothing on it. I think he's fully explored it already, so he can either just suicide out of here or walk back through the cave. Nothing available on the other side of the swamp this time.
Swamp Cave in this case, just leading out there to, well, I would say Gilligan's Island, but I don't even know if it's in it.
Yeah, choosing not to suicide back, find his way in the dark, he could take a peek at what the Guardian is for the princess, just in case. Otherwise, he's just going to walk back through and continue his exploration on the other side.
Well, mcgrew taking out a red dragon for 48 and 230, so he's definitely getting some gold built up. And the Datyedyeguy has made it back through to the other end of the swamp cave.
Yeah, unfortunately mcgrew still has no weapon. I wonder if he is trying to grind for that broadsword that we saw in Cole for 1500 gold.
Very possibly, but the Datyedyeguy finding out the trouble of metal scorpions having, oh goodness, Dragon Lord breath.
Yeah, good to know for the future. Not so bad actually to get killed and be sent back to the castle. I think he was kind of done exploring in that direction. So he's gonna go pick a different direction now, hopefully find a few more towns or caves to continue his exploration. The towns that haven't been found yet, Brockenary of course, but as well we have Hawksness out there somewhere, which could have an important item. And Rimildar, of course, is one of the easy ways to have access to keys, so looking for some more towns to Datyedyeguy. Meanwhile, mcgrew is continuing the grind.
We're finding out more about which enemies are helpful and which... Ooh, gonna be a little while before that blue dragon comes into play. The cave in another town, and the tie-dye guy up with the vanilla stones of sunlight cave, and it has wings. Utilizable as the equivalent of the return spell. Using it puts you back at Tantagel's castle.
mcgrew looks to be just taking an in stop to refresh his MP, maybe double checking the cost of the broadsword there.
Found Rimmeldar.
He also could grab the half plate if he wanted. Well, he had the magic armor already, but Rimmeldar, huge.
The one town that has immediate access to keys. The other places that sell them, they're locked door. So open up the ability to a few different places. You can go back to Garenham, open chests, as well as the staircase into another cave. We'll raid the treasury in castle, but first, inside Rimmeldar, there is a cursed belt.
Yeah, and he's already seen Garenham and Cantlin, two of the locations where you want to use those keys, as well as Tantegel Castle, of course, with the treasury. So a lot of running around he can do quickly now that he has these keys, and he can open quite a few treasure chests. Potentially the Erdrick sword could be found, or one of the quest items. And the golems seem to have partial resistance to hurt, but mcgrew managing with about 2 hurt spells, able to take down these golems. I've seen him kill several of them now for about 100 each. And he's leveled up. Looks like he took a death, though, somewhere in there, so he is further away from broadsword money, unfortunately.
Yeah, but he did get up to level 7. And is trailing in experience to the tie-dye guy getting to a slight lead. Oh, and an armored knight with sleep. And Dragon Lord breath, the affectionately known as the Wombo combo.
I don't remember which level the Datyedyeguy learned Heal More. I assume mcgrew must have it by now, and that was the trigger for the Datyedyeguy to venture out. And he went across that bridge and found those other towns with the flame sword. That flame sword is a huge edge for him here. I would like to see mcgrew take a stroll here.
Well, as of level 7, mcgrew does not have Heal More, so that may have been something that came at either 8 or 9. Thankfully, though, 8 isn't too terribly far away. Probably this golem should get him up to level 8. And in fact, it does. And there it is. Level 8 brought Heal More into the mix. Demon Knights with Hurt More.
Yeah, and now he's back to within 200 gold of that broadsword as well, so he'll probably stick it out for that. Hopefully he won't take a death in between. Once he gets that, he'll be venturing out, I would think.
And the tie-dye guy muscling on the droll for about 24 apiece.
So far, we've seen the swamp caves, and we've seen the Stones of Sunlight cave, and still looking for the mountain cave or the grave, hiding a whole lot of treasure chests. The tie-dye guy continuing to explore and look for those things.
Oh, wow. Drakey's with Dragon Lord breath.
Yeah, that's gotta hurt. He was nearly out of MP anyway. He maybe had one more chance to cast Heal More, but very low MP total, as you see here, coming back to the king with 112 HP, but only 33 MP. So in a way, that can cause a little bit of an issue with some of your long explorations, because you can't heal very many times before you run out of MP here. But now he's going to check the treasury. And we got some good stuff here. We have the Death Necklace and the Erdrick Sword. What we don't have is any gold. So it's got the best sword in the game, and the Death Necklace is available for later. He's already got 112 HP, so that could become important. It's going to refresh some keys and check the basement.
So Erdrick's Sword at just before the 25-minute mark of this seed. That's going to help the Datyedye's advantage even more.
And it looks like mcgrew finally did buy his broadsword. We have some sort of dungeon here for the Datyedyeguy, and he's got the mountain cave. So 5 chests immediately available here. Potentially looking for the harp and or the stones of sunlight.
Well, he finds a metal scorpion as long as he's able to take it out.
Here goes mcgrew across this bridge to the same 2 towns where he's going to maybe find the flame sword as well. If he can make it, that'll be a good step in the right direction for mcgrew.
And to answer Azrael Adonis' question in chat, the Wraith wasn't exactly decent MP or decent experience rather.
And we have the mighty Axe Ghost found in the treasure chest for Datyedyeguy. Turns out to be the fighter's ring.
Yes. Now, the reason it comes up as the Axe Ghost, this is something that we had mentioned gold grind a little bit earlier, as chests respawn every time you go to the overworld map, but due to the programming limits of the game only tracks up to 8 chests as opened. So every chest open beyond the 8th chest can be taken over and over and over again. And as you saw here by raiding the treasury...
Oh, having an issue with the gold man here before he can get to that second town with the flame sword. He is using the heal more, so... Oh boy, now he's sleeping. Let's see if mcgrew can get out of this battle and make it to the town. And he does.
Oh, we have the... Wow, the Stones of Sunlight. I can definitely see that here, as they both came up as chainmail.
Okay. I'm not sure I know what all the items are that he found, but the important one is the Stones of Sunlight for sure. He found the fighter's ring in there as well. I missed what was on the first floor, but...
with some gold.
Okay, and now he's coming up on the last chest here.
Oh, and there's your gold grind.
Meanwhile, mcgrew just saw the flame sword. I'm not sure if he could afford it right now, so he's gonna maybe quickly grind up for that. He's... wait a minute. He does have enough gold. Did he see the flame sword there? I'm confused by that, but... okay, interesting gold grind here. Remember that silver shield costs about 6,000, so he's basically set already if he can remember how much it costs.
What I think he's doing here is he's going to grind up to essentially 12,000 and just death warp out of the castle, and that would probably at this point be quicker than having to try to traverse all the way through the cave again.
Yeah, I like that plan a lot if they don't have the outside spell yet, which I don't think he does. I think that's a good move. Hopefully, he knows exactly how much it was. I think it was 6,000, almost 6,000 even. I think he's got enough either way, so.
Total for the silver shield was 5,914, so he's definitely got it.
Oh, it was under 6. Okay, perfect. Well, he walked out anyways, so he'll be on his way over there, presumably to Cole for the silver shield.
And mcgrew finding Breckenary, sticking around at the inn, and that's about it.
I did not notice mcgrew picking up the flame sword, but we have it marked off, so I'm assuming that he got it, so that should help him kill some enemies more efficiently.
As he just takes out a poltergeist for almost 200 experience. And that gets him up to level 9.
Alright, so the only quest item remaining for the Datyedyeguy is the harp, and at some point he's going to have to find the cave to trade that in for the Staff of Rain. So not much left for him to look for. At some point, he's going to have to locate the Erdrick's armor as well, which is an issue of search spots, which we have only found one of them so far.
Yeah, the other two are in... Well, one is in the town of Hawk's Nest. The other is potentially somewhere on the overworld. So it would behoove the Datyedyeguy to go back to Cantlin now that he has access to keys to be able to get potential coordinates and see if it's on the overworld search spot.
Yeah, absolutely. If Hawk's Nest turns out to be difficult to find for whatever reason, he may be able to get away with not finding it at all if he can find the armor just laying on the ground on the overworld.
Ooh.
So I think that would be a good play to go ahead and go get those coordinates as soon as possible.
Well, the Datyedyeguy taking a death. As he ended up getting hit with a Dragon Lord breath from a Drakey, running away and then encountering another battle where after a dodge, a Metal Scorpion used Dragon Lord breath as well to send him back. Meanwhile, mcgrew, he takes a death.
Yeah, mcgrew was just totally out of resources, so he went as far as he could. Again, they have pretty low MP totals for this level, so just not able to get too far before you run out of ability to heal.
Yeah, well, SJC noting in chat the Demon Knight having a modified wombo combo of sleep and hurt more, and that pretty much taking mcgrew out and sending him back.
Looks like the Datyedyeguy is going straight back to that desert for another grind. I guess he's done all the exploring he feels like he needs to do at this point. Never that bad of a play to try and, fish for hurt more or, whatever other spells that you think might be right around the corner on the next level. I agree with you, though. I think he should go ahead and drop by Cantlin for the coordinates, but besides that, there's not much left on the list for him to do.
Well, mcgrew, interestingly enough, he found a nice little spot there with a couple of poltergeists, and those giving 198 experience apiece. He quickly has cut the experience deficit down to about 600. And now working on a metal slime. We haven't seen what that has given as of yet as in terms of experience and gold. But it looks like it has a lot of hit points. Hits for a decent amount as well. Ooh, hitting for 20 there. And mcgrew opting to run away.
Yeah, part of that cutting into the lead as well was that the Datyedyeguy was busy scouring the mountain cave for that Stones of Sunlight, which mcgrew is going to have to do at some point. If there's not really any high value enemies in that cave, that's kind of time lost. But yeah, mcgrew is making a comeback because for a while he just had no weapon and was having trouble getting started. But doing a nice job now. Seems to be going right back towards the Cantlin region again.
So at this point, it's for mcgrew a matter of finding Rimmeldar to be able to get the keys to access those things. In the case of the Datyedyeguy, he's doing some grinding and could also retrace his steps a little bit as he takes out a knight for 146 and 68.
Yeah, the Datyedyeguy, it would help if he found the grave at this point. And if he could stumble upon Hawk's Nest, that would help as well. So there is some exploring left for him to do. Not clear what he found here.
Well, he found an armor knight that has Dragon Lord breath.
It's always fun. Fortunately, he's able to deal with a lot of enemies right now, but right now he is sleeping. If this is the grave, it's a short walk to get 3 treasure chests, which could be housing the harp. Unable to get away from the armored knight, though.
And OPT lawyer, I shouldn't acknowledge this, but I'm going to. Putting in chat, he's just dying to get there, too. as he takes a death to the armored knight.
We have our resident pun master on the restream tonight. Very nice.
Boy. And knights we see have Dragon Lord breath.
So I think mcgrew just has to get out there and do a little more exploration. Still needs to find that mountain cave. I don't think he ever went through the swamp cave, although that would be a fruitless task if he did so. But the Datyedyeguy just seems to have found more locations so far. mcgrew just playing catch up on that. And
boy noting in chat, calling me out, saying that I am guilty of punning too. I'm not saying that I'm not. OPT, yeah, take. I was referring to the puns, all the ones that I don't want to have. I mean, he certainly takes those, but and in reference to D. Rossi's question in chat, how many enemies are allowed to have Dragon Lord 2 breath? Theoretically, all of them could, but I don't think that that's too terribly likely.
So Datyedyeguy, I think this is the grave, and I think he's just walking past it, unless I have my landmarks confused here. Maybe he figures he'll come back when he's stronger to take on those armored knights that are in there.
Well, so far by my count, we have 6 enemies that have that Dragon Lord 2 breath.
I believe the only towns slash castles we have not found yet are Hawksness, which and mcgrew finds Rimildar here, which is good for him. I think we've not seen Hawksness and we've not seen Sharlock. And as far as caves go, I don't know that we've seen the Tablet Cave yet, which has 1 chest for free. And other than that, it's pretty much the grave, the chests that are remaining in the grave.
Yeah, in terms of chests that have not been found, there's Sharlock on Datyedyguy's side.
At some point, they need to find the Rainbow Drop Cave as well, so a few things left to find still, just kind of midway through the game now. And that is good to know how to get to Sharlock, so he'll know how to do that for later.
Pretty easy path, and again, trying to run away. Getting hit with the sleep and able to wake up ahead of time.
I did not notice mcgrew checking the chest in Rimildar there. Don't think it matters. I don't think it had anything, but you would think that he would check it while he's there.
Alright, and that makes 7 enemies now with the Dragon Lord breath.
7? Okay.
The Gold Man with the Wombo.
We got some fierce opponents today, I guess.
Yeah, from what we've seen so far, the Drakey, the Ghost, the Metal Scorpion, the Gold Man, the Werewolf, and the Armored Knight.
Yeah, and if any of those have substantial HP and substantial strength to go along with that, and the one I'm thinking of is the Gold Man, hits pretty hard, and I think it even has the sleep spell, if I recall. You can bet that some of those enemies will show up in Sharlock Castle.
And Axe Knights with sleep and hurt more.
So when it comes time towards the end of the game, they should sort of keep that in their mind. If they have a level that's maybe borderline to fight the Dragon Lord, they're going to have to make it through Sharlock, and you can kind of bet that this might be a more difficult than most run through Sharlock, which might eat up some MP on the dive, so something to take into account before you go in and fail a couple of dives, that you might want an extra level here. We'll see, though.
mcgrew has found the upper 3 chests in Garen's grave, finding 2 torches and a fairy water. And finding an armored knight that's going to send him back to the castle.
All right, so that just leaves the 2 chests remaining in the bottom of Garen's grave unexplored, as well as the one in the tablet cave. They still need to find the harp at some point. We're running out of chests.
Now, interestingly enough, because he was in the grave and took the death, he already potentially has the grind. And yeah, so he had to double check to make sure that it in fact was the Erdrick sword.
Yeah, there's no
9
gold
chests.
actually in the treasury though, but I don't remember what was in the basement. I think that leads to the mountain cave, does it not?
Yes.
And there is some gold in
Cannondale
there.
basement's gonna be-
Oh,
so
interesting. He's found the
grind.
death necklace gold grind here. So he could grab a little bit, at least he's grabbing enough to refresh his key supply. The death necklace chest has a smaller amount of gold in it. That it looked like he was going to grind that up for the silver shield, which could take a while, but right now he's just getting keys. But yeah, if he goes into this mountain cave, he'll still be in the gold glitch status, so if he finds a gold chest in here, then he'll be all set with getting the silver shield. He's got to survive the trip, though. There are enemies in here. And that first chest, as you mentioned earlier, is gold, so he's going for it right away. And let's see if he does a double count up to 12,000 so that he can explore the rest of the cave without worrying about dying. Looks like he is continuing on.
And to tie that guy back to meandering around coal.
So both runners thinking of that strategy to take twice the amount of gold that they need so that they can death warp out. Strategy that you mentioned when you saw him doing it. And I don't know if that's an easy thing to think of on the fly. So they both came up with that. We can expect mcgrew to do exactly that. He'll raid the rest of the chests, hopefully finding the stones on the way before he dies. And he'll warp out of here and grab the shield.
And to tie that guy is going to hit level 10 with the sleep spell.
So that was a pretty good gap we had between 9 and 10. So we'll have to see if some of the next few levels come a little faster.
Yeah, all told, it was about a 2,400 gap. And now he sees the fighter's ring, puts that on.
All right, and he found the stones up in those other chests, so he's catching up item-wise to the Datyedyeguy. I think they have basically all the same equipment except for that silver shield, which he'll be grabbing shortly.
Oh, and there's the MP boost at level 11, 25 MP. And it came pretty quickly after level 10, only about a couple hundred experience.
Yeah, that'll help a lot for some of these further exploration runs out into the edges of the map where he's going to hope to find Hawksness, or if he has to take a long walk for the overworld item as well.
So to tie that guy doing some slashing here on the metal slime, we see that it gives 114 experience and 214 gold.
And I see he's going across this same swamp towards Cantlin, so I think he's decided it's time to get the coordinates.
Plus, wasn't Garenham over this way as well, so you can check the 3 chests in the back of Garenham also?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
I believe they're,
yeah, so the
swamp,
harp could still be in those chests as well. I forgot that we've not seen those yet. Yeah,
at this point, there are only 6 treasure chests that we haven't seen. the 3 inside of Garanham, the 2 deep in the grave, and the 1 in the tablet cave.
mcgrew down to 1 hit point in this epic battle with the Axe Knight here. He is trying to get him.
With the excellent dodge, as Sports FA noting in chat, the excellent move critical hit that was dodged by the enemy, or the Kaishin Negata. Ooh, and the Datyedyeguy just steps away from the town, able to avoid getting slept and wrecked, and opting to go to Garanham first.
All right, that seems reasonable. These chests will help him figure out what to do next. And we also maybe could have the jerk cave in the basement here, or it could be the tablet cave as well for that other chest.
Now, in reference to the jerk cave, what that is referencing is the rainbow drop cave, where you would trade in the Staff of Rain, the Stones of Sunlight, and Erdrick's token to acquire the rainbow drop, and that will build the bridge across the moat to get to Charlotte Castle, home of the Dragon Lord. But if you don't have Erdrick's token with you, he'll literally kick you out of the cave. That's why he is known affectionately as the Jerk.
And we have a silver shield now from mcgrew, so they're all even up on equipment again.
So let's see what is in the back of Garanham. We have the silver harp. And we have some bucks. And a torch.
And now I can't recall if we already saw the Shrine Cave. Do you remember if we've seen that yet?
We have not seen the Staff of Rain Cave, so it could potentially be right back here. And it is!
Ooh, that's convenient. Okay, so he has the Staff of Rain. All he needs now is to find the Rainbow Drop Cave to trade these items in, and he'll have access to Charlock.
So that is a huge find for the Datyedyeguy. So now he can just head south right here to the other town, or actually north rather. I see he went to the south one first. So you can head just to that north town of Cantlin and perhaps find the coordinates, but oh wait, that's Breckenary. Perhaps he forgot which town among the 3 that were so close by was which.
Yeah, it's easy to lose track of what's what, and when you're running around in these races, if you don't physically write down mapping with pencil and paper like some racers do, others just try and go by memory, and sometimes you just can't remember where something is that you saw a half an hour ago. And looks like either he's forgotten about the fact that he needs these coordinates, or he's just not bothering with it right now, or he forgot that town was Cantlin. So,
or he, as Amazing Emperor is noting in chat, he could be skipping it on purpose, thinking that it may be easier at this point to fight whoever is guarding potentially the armor in Hawk's Nest, and then if that doesn't work, doubling back to find out the coordinates, if the coordinates are huge.
Yeah, you know, he has to do exploration anyways to find the Rainbow Drop Cave, so while he's looking around for that, he might happen to find Hawksness. So that makes sense. If there wasn't really anything else for him to find, then it would be strange to me, because the overworld's coordinate location could save you a trip to find Hawksness. You might not ever need to find it if the armor is on the overworld, but he's got to look around for the Rainbow Drop Cave anyways, so makes sense to continue
Mcgrew
exploring.
is going to answer that question now, as he is in Cantlin checking his keys and is going to find out what those coordinates are. And if it's something really simple to find, then that could be the questionable decision that evens this race out considerably. 44 south, 36 east.
That seems like it is countable to me, just my memory of what the map looks like. I think it's okay to just walk it. If he goes that way and he runs into a stretch of water or something, then he may end up going and getting the princess. I believe mcgrew has found the swamp cave, correct? I know the Datyedyeguy did, but I don't remember mcgrew being in there.
if he was, it was very brief. But now opting to do a little bit more exploration is mcgrew. So this is essentially even with the differential being just about 2,000 experience.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to see if the tie-dye guy does happen to find the rainbow drop cave. I would like to see him just cast return and just go straight for Cantlin. But I don't know. Maybe he'll prove me wrong, and the armor will be in Hawk's Nest. So, meanwhile, he's in this rogue scorpion's hitting fairly hard. So he's in a tough battle here. And he just tried and failed on a sleep spell as well. It's good to experiment a little bit, because you can bet you'll see this guy in Sharlock. And if he's resistant to sleep, and he has a ton of hit points, and he's hitting you hard, this could be kind of a nightmare. He finally runs away.
Well, mcgrew finding a cave here to the south, and
it looks like that might be the Swamp North. So I wonder if he's going straight for the princess now.
Nope. No, he's gonna head on down to the other side. Now we knew. Oh no! I
Aha! There we go. At least take a peek and see what's guarding it. If he can take care of it now, he's on low resources, but it would be helpful if he could do this. I don't know that he has the outside spell though, so it could be tricky to get back there with the princess in hand.
He does not. Yeah, all he has is hurt, return, and heal more.
Yeah, and not enough MP now for return either. So unless he has some wings, which he just maybe checked for that. Not sure if he actually has any wings, but it is an Axe Knight. I think he was able to beat an Axe Knight earlier, but they are fairly tough.
Well, they have the combination of hurt more and sleep that is problematic.
Okay, so now he knows. Maybe if there's an inn nearby, he might come right back here, or he'll just continue and see what's on the other side of the swamp, which we know is a big old nothing burger, so that could be a little bit of time wasted.
And the wyvern being a bit of a jerk bird, as it only gave 10 experience, a good amount of gold, but not really a lot of shopping to be done, and mcgrew already with quite a bit of riches.
So the tie-dye guy starting over from the castle again, I believe, wondering what he's going to prioritize now.
Perhaps leveling.
I missed him getting up to level 12 along the way, so he is gaining levels pretty quickly now.
Well, he did hit that about a minute, almost a minute and a half ago, and then when he went back to the king, he found out that it was only about 300 experience away, and was able to
now
get
he's
that
on 13, so some quick levels. And finally, he has more reasonable MP totals. I was a little worried that we were going to have a strange seed where they just didn't have enough magic to finish the game here, but catching up in that statistic and on his way over to the Cantlin region again. Let's see if he stops by this time.
I believe it was either level 10 or 11 that gave a 25 MP boost. And the tie-dye guy, sleep running away from the Axe Knight.
And meanwhile, I've missed mcgrew, I guess, went in and got the harp and the staff as well. So he is, or unless that happened much earlier, but
that happened about about 6.5 minutes ago. Is when
yeah, so they have the same equipment and items. And so it's coming down now to the experience gap and just maybe finding the rainbow drop cave somewhere out there.
Yeah, the only things still needed to be found are the rainbow drop cave and Erdrick's armor. which is going to be in one of two locations. It'll either be in Hawk's Nest, guarded by a monster, or it will be that overworld coordinate spot, which we found out is 44 paces south and 36 paces east of Tanager Castle.
And Datyedyeguy finally going for that information right now. And so once he gets it, let's see if he's going to count it or go for the princess. Oh, and
found the Rainbow Drop Cave.
He is the first with access to Sharlock. Now, I don't know if mcgrew has seen where Sharlock is yet, so that's another thing for him to find, if he hasn't seen it. And I'm not sure that having early access to Sharlock in this one is that helpful. I think the enemies that are going to be in Sharlock are quite formidable this time. So it's not like it's going to be a great grind spot or anything like that. But he does have the Rainbow Drop, so one less thing to find. High Spirits in chat noting that the Rainbow Drop Cave is really not in a good place as compared to where Datyedyeguy has been exploring. So it could be a while for him to find his way over there. Meanwhile, let's see if he tries to find this armor. And he was just now sent back to the castle. This would be a good time to start a count if he was going to do so. It's a little bit lengthy of a count, but I think the map is conducive. I think it's kind of open to the south and to the where he needs to go there. Ooh, and is this Hawk's Nest tucked way up in the where mcgrew is heading? Or did he just circle back around to Brockenary there?
That's
okay. Circle back around.
And Datyedyeguy looks to be counting out the coordinates based on his pacing. Counting his steps, making a marker. Counting his steps, making a marker.
So the town of Hawk's Nest has vanished so far for these guys. It's if it turns out to be required, they're still looking for it. It reminds me of one of the other old games where you had to line up the phases of the moon for the town to even appear on the map or whatever. It's like, oh my goodness, where is it? Looks like he is in counting mode though, so he may go without the princess. If this turns out to be the armor, then he won't have to find Hawk's Nest. If it turns out to be the flute, then we got a little more searching around to do.
Or if it turns out to be nothing, we have more searching to do, which is a possibility, as the fairy flute can be in a chest, and there are 3 treasure chests that we have not seen as of yet.
Yeah, the old man did give coordinates though, so something's got to be there. But yeah, if it's not the armor, it's gonna be. He still has a lot of work to do here. And when you're on one of these long counts and these enemies just keep popping up and kind of ruining your concentration, it's not uncommon for you to just lose count. And now he's got a body of water in his way as well, so not a perfectly easy count. Let's see if he manages it.
Well, he knows he has to go further south, so he's hoping to be able to go south and east around that body of water. And maybe his count's off a little bit. But I believe he's found Hawk's Nest, as I don't believe we've seen that desert town there.
Yeah, so this is the thing, he's doing a little bit of an area search. This is what happens sometimes when you get interrupted in your concentration, and it may be around here somewhere, but he's doing a lot of searching.
And mcgrew, meanwhile, finding utilize Dragon Lord Breath, and Datyedyeguy says, you know what? Here's Hawk's Nest. Let's go ahead and see what the monster is, and if the armor's there, then my counting was for naught.
Yeah, absolutely. I can understand that. And I think when you're in a race situation, you're looking and it looks like you're about an hour into the race. It can play with your head if you start to lose that count and you're like, oh no, where is that item? And then he just gave up on it. So
wow.
But yeah, if this has what he needs.
Picking out a wolf here in Hawk's Nest, and only about 8 hit points, and it gives 252 experience. That is 3 off of the max. So that might possibly be a grind spot, as that'll get your levels up real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Plenty of desert tiles. There's only a few monsters that can pop up in Hawk's Nest, so sure, he might stick around here until the rest of his MP is used up, especially if he finds the armor here. There won't be much left for him to find.
And it's the armor in Hawk's Nest.
All right. Interesting that the count sort of leads you in the same place. If mcgrew ends up counting, that will lead him to Hawk's Nest as well. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. The Datyedyeguy still has to find the rainbow drop, but other than that, it's levels and go time.
So we know that had he correctly counted that spot, that it would have been the fairy flute in that overworld spot. And the Datyedyeguy with a Kaisha Negata, that excellent dodge. And the Metal Scorpion's going to get him to level 15.
Yeah, this has become a significant experience lead now. He's more than doubled mcgrew's experience, up to about almost a 4,000 point lead. And so if he can find this rainbow drop cave, he's going to have time for 1 or 2 dives before mcgrew even gets to the right level here. Now, I'm not sure what mcgrew is up to, because I think he has everything else that he needs as well, and he already has the coordinates, so at some point I would expect him to start counting his way, unless he thinks that he wants to get the princess in order to do that.
Unless he's perhaps looking for a quintessential grind spot. As he knows that an hour and 2 minutes into this seed, having everything else, his biggest deficit right now is experience. Getting those levels, gaining those hit points.
Oh, here he goes. It looks like he's counting. That was the town of Cold Air, so he's not far from the castle, and I don't know what happened where he was just running around there, but now it looks like he's counting again.
So yeah, a question in chat about Erdrick's armor and whether or not it's necessary. It isn't officially necessary, but it makes your trek through Charlotte Castle a lot easier as mcgrew gets to level 10. At the 63-minute mark. As the Erdrick's armor, it's arguably one of the most broken pieces of armory in all of RPG history. It negates your damage taken in swamp tiles as well as those barrier tiles, as mcgrew finding the fairy flute in the search spot.
It's a little bit further west than where the Datyedyeguy was searching, but nope, there he goes. He found it.
He sees Hawk's Nest in the distance, but the armor also reduces the damage from hurt and hurt more spells, and significantly, it also reduces the fire breath by 1/3. So that Dragon Lord breath that you see that does damage anywhere between 64 and 72 hit points, that reduces that damage to anywhere between 42 and 48 in even number increments. So that alone is a huge saving. Plus, with each step that you take, you regain 1 hit point closer to your max. Plus, Stop Spell doesn't work on you when you have the Erdrick's armor equipped. So an
Alright.
enemy can
Warlock
spam
goes down.
casting
He's
stop
got his
spell.
armor here. And the Warlock that was guarding it didn't seem to be that difficult.
It hit kind of hard.
Didn't yield too much either, though, unfortunately. So not really a grindable area.
No, just 28 experience on the Warlock. But those wolves that are around there, mcgrew just finding one now, he may see that. Oh, he hit it for 4 and it ran away.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That would have been a nice grind spot. I think they're going to go back to that desert region right west of Tanzania. Now, what does mcgrew have left to do? I think mcgrew is just purely leveling now.
Yeah, for mcgrew, that is it. That's all he has left is just gaining that experience. And if the tie-dye guy opts to utilize that spot in Hawksness and just go after those wolves, one-shotting those, that'll be very fruitful. Although these wizards doing pretty good at 153 and 179.
And chat pointing out that mcgrew is still hunting the map for Charlotte Castle itself, so before he can sit around and grind, he's going to want to know where that is.
And he doesn't even bother with the Stones of Sunlight cave. So at this point, the tie-dye guy, we haven't seen his statistics recently, but he certainly... Oh, well, he found a what we know is a Sparkover bridge, a bridge to a single tile, which it is referred to as that because one of our runners, Sparkover, she is notorious for finding those spots and instinctively searching that single tile in the ever rare hope that it may be where the overworld spot is.
So the tie-dye guy still needs that Rainbow Drop Cave. He's got some really good HP now, up into the 140s for max HP. Now he's up to, I want to say level 15 or 16. I missed him learning the Hurtmore spell, but he's been making his way in some of these battles just using Hurtmore now as well. Of course, still not the greatest MP total, but that doesn't matter too much if you have plenty of power. That's the one stat we can't really see from here is the power.
And High Spirit's noting in chat that it doesn't look as though that Sparkover bridge is reachable. But if it was reachable, some people would joke that your run isn't validated unless you do search it, but that is purely for humor. Magician's giving 36 and 102. You probably won't be seeing too many of those taken out. But already you see the difference just with the werewolf using that Dragon Lord Breath on mcgrew, only hitting it for 44.
So we are pretty much in the endgame mode here. This first portion of this race has gone pretty quickly. We're just a little over an hour in. And there have been seeds when from here and to the end of the game could take an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on how brutal the end game is. So no lead is safe. The tie-dye guy has a 4,000 experience lead. We've seen plenty of those wiped out in this tournament so far. So this is a good one still. Let's see how quickly they both finish up these last few things so that they can start diving Sharlock.
The tie-dye guy, he is just looking for anything that resembles a cave, as mcgrew has found Sharlock.
Yep, and maybe planning to take a peek in there, do a little bit of recon. He's clearly not ready for a real dive yet. He's only on level 10. But he knows of a couple of grind spots. Maybe he's hoping that there'll be a nice grind available right in here. I'm guessing that some of these monsters in here are going to be pretty nasty. We've seen lots of Dragonlord Breath this seed.
So he just uses the drop and heads back to his searching.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised if he just casts Return now and goes straight for that desert west of Tantegel. He's got nothing left to do but grind. I guess mcgrew technically has the flute as well. I don't remember the golems being any problem. I think there are golems available in that desert as well, actually, if they're worth about 100 experience. So, well, he took a trip back to the castle the hard way, and let's see if he goes west.
Rose Cavalier pointing in chat that his inventory was full and he actually just declined to take the fairy flute. So he found it, but just said, nah, I'm going to leave it there.
Okay, that makes sense. It has no use in this particular seed, so he's got everything he needs. Now he's got another level.
And Too Many Mareeps, to answer your question as far as what happened to cause such a large gap in experience, really it's just a matter of the Datyedyeguy getting a little bit of an early start and a little bit more efficient taking out of enemies, whereas a lot of the enemies have been brutal in terms of, especially early on, the Dragonlord Breath just taking out our enemies here.
Yeah, the first 20 to 25 minutes or so, for a majority of that, the Datyedyeguy had a flame sword, and mcgrew had no weapon. So he was able to kill a lot of enemies early on. He has expanded the lead since then, but in the early game, that was kind of the big difference for me.
Yes, we have seen red dragons. All they had was baby breath and kind of decent attack and not much in terms of experience. And wow, Goldman giving 227 and 191. And that's going to get the Datyedyeguy to level 16.
I didn't actually catch where mcgrew was when he found that rainbow drop cave, but the Datyedyeguy is still looking for it. It's been almost 10 minutes now, I think, just looking around for the rainbow drop cave. I don't know if he's even close to it right now or not, but
it looked like it was tucked away in the north. I don't know if it was a corridor kind of to the west.
And now, if he still feels like he needs more levels, it's not that big a deal. But once you get to where you know you have the levels, if you haven't found this one last thing, it starts to feel like you're really wasting time, and it's like desperation. Like, oh my gosh, where's this thing? I'm ready to fight the Dragonlord, and I can't get there.
mcgrew at this point is in grind mode. And the blue dragon is not going to be one of those grindable enemies.
Yeah, as far as traditional grind spots, the Guardian of Hawksnest did not yield very much experience, so he won't be doing that. I think mcgrew took a peek at what was guarding the princess. I believe it was an Axe Knight. I don't remember how much they give. Not sure if you wrote that one down.
Yeah, not much. Only 20 experience and 99 gold.
Okay, so they're not going to be able to use either of the recurring encounter spots. They're going to have to find their own grind here. Some desert patch somewhere that yielded a good group of enemies. Maybe even something where you could use the repel spell to your advantage, which works a little differently than you would expect. I don't think he's going to be trying to grind in Sharlock. mcgrew needs several more levels, so where is he going for that? I'm not sure what he has in mind. He's wandering right now, but I believe he must have a grind spot in mind that he's making his way over to.
And Dataplat, we have seen Magiwyverns. They gave 42 experience and 11 gold.
So chat mentioning that Rainbow Drop Cave was south and east, and we're on the south edge of the map for Datyedyeguy now as he reaches another level up. So maybe he's closing in on it here.
Oh, that's right. Okay, it was tucked away here.
He's on level 17. Once he gets this, hopefully he'll peek at his stats. It seems like he's gotta have enough now. He's got over 150 hit points. And so this is the last thing he needed before he could get to Sharlock.
I don't know if he's just hurt more spamming, he being the tie-dye guy. I don't know if he's hurt more spamming this Rogue Scorpion just because he's having trouble running away from it. I'm guessing that's it because in terms of gaining experience, it only gives you 27.
Oh, and we have a princess for mcgrew here. He did not want to count that out. Or he just wants it for his leveling up. Yeah, because he already got the overworld location, so this is purely for leveling up purposes. Interesting play there.
Yes, a little quirk to Dragon Warrior Randomizer is you don't necessarily have to play as Lodo the hero, as the tie-dye guy is going to get the rainbow drop.
I'm kind of wondering if mcgrew had never defeated an Axe Knight before and was hoping that that was going to be a grind spot, the Axe Knight guarding the princess. And then once it wasn't really worth it, he just said, well, might as well just grab the princess and go back home.
So yeah, so of note, you can play as the, obviously as the hero. You can play as Princess Gwaelin, as mcgrew is doing, and when you do so, you can rescue Prince Guimond from inside. Ooh, 2852.
Yeah, that's probably go time for him. He's not going to want to grind that much. Here's the stats. 129 attack power with not a lot of MP. I didn't catch what the max MP is, but I'm not sure now. Yeah, traditionally a ratio of 129 attack power against 93 MP would not be enough against in a standard flags Dragon Lord fight. He does have the Death Necklace option available, which will put him up to 139. So at 139 you need about 10 heal wars. That would be more doable. Yeah, I guess it's worth a shot. Sharlock may end up being kind of nasty here, but with 2800 to go for the next level, I think you might as well go ahead and dive here.
And we want to thank those of you who are joining us from Randomania 2 and watching the Pokemon Crystal Cinco Bingo Tournament. Alongside Up to NG, I'm Ferran Burgundy. This is the quarterfinals of the Dragon Warrior Randomizer Chaos Tournament. This is the single elimination bracket portion of the tournament. mcgrew, the 2 seed, taking on Datyedyeguy, the 7 seed. As mcgrew going up to level 12. And Datyedyeguy is about to enter potentially our final lair here for the Dragon Lord, where defeating the Dragon Lord will garner a victory. However, as noted in chat by Datyedyeguy, he has to get there first, and there are a lot of enemies that are certainly going to be troublesome.
Yeah, this Goldman with the sleep and the, well, he is only taking 1 damage now. Earlier on, he was taking 20 or 30 damage from the physicals from the Goldman, so Silver Shield and coming into play, among other things here. But still, the sleep and the, wow. So that was encounter number 1, right through the gates of Sharlock, and he's already healing up, so wow.
Yeah, there's your greeter of Sharlock Castle, a gold man. And Tsukiya 2830, the fairy flute only works on the golem, not the gold man or stone man, in terms of putting it to sleep. So it unfortunately wouldn't be that effective, except just providing about 8 seconds of a lovely tune.
So while Datyedyeguy navigates through the dark here, what is mcgrew doing actually? I'm still not clear what his plan is here.
I think mcgrew is he's trying to look for a suitable grind spot and just has been challenged in doing so. I think where he's at currently, I mean, he's certainly trying to, as he hits a Star Wyvern with an excellent move for 65. That Kaishin no Ichigeki hits it for almost just over 100 hit points, and it still runs away.
Yeah, that is one of the other quirks, is that all these monsters start running away from you when you think you have a good grind spot. You level up once or twice, all of a sudden you can't really fight any of those monsters anymore because they're running from you. So that's a good way to not get experience if you can't even get in a battle.
I think that is the challenge for mcgrew, is he's trying to find somewhere to kill enemies that are able to garner some experience. And Cyberventure, yeah, I could just say crit, or I could say an excellent move. It's something that comes from, I'm sure somebody's going to help me a little bit better with this. I believe it's one of the Dragon Quest, which is the Japanese version of this game, but I think it's one of the sequels. I'll defer to one of the experts in chat who know a little bit more about some of the other numerous Dragon Quest games throughout the franchise.
Yeah, I can't help you on that one either. I saw Game Boy starting to use the phrase in the previous tournament, and there was some etymology about it, and I don't remember the story, but it's something. It's some sort of like phrase in Japanese that basically means excellent move. So
yeah, it's as High Spirits noting in chat, Kaishin is the term for crit in Japanese.
Oh, we're going back to the castle for the Datyedyeguy. We have a tough Sharlock here, so I don't know. We might see level 18.
So we've seen Demon Knights, we've seen Goldmen. And Datyedyeguy opting to save and not continue. A quick reset fixes that.
Yeah, I don't know that I would dive again here. You know, the ratio, even with the Death Necklace ratio of 139 attack and 93 MP, it's like you have like one heal more to spare there. On a vanilla standard Dragon Lord fight when he has, 150 HP or so. In Chaos, you can easily have a Dragon Lord with over 200 HP. He could have sleep. With stop spell resistance, so like getting all the way down there, I guess it's good to have that information, but I don't know. That Sharlock looks pretty gross so far. I don't know if he's going right back there. It would only take a couple of minutes to get another level.
Well, the target number for the Datyedyeguy to get to level 18 is going to be 12,261.
And choosing not to use the swag door there to save a few seconds, but taking a long way around to the item shop where he's going to presumably restock on herbs, which you like to have for those Sharlock dives so that you can save your MP. And maybe some torches as well if he doesn't have any. He was going through in the dark. So he's grabbed a few torches now. Well, it looks like he's preparing for another dive. Maybe if he fails one more dive, he'll think about leveling up. So this is the next phase of the race, where sort of it's anyone's race still, depending on how difficult this end game is. We have a 5,000 experience point lead for the Datyedyeguy, and the race is not over yet.
Yeah, he essentially has double the experience that mcgrew has. And I think if he's able to take out one of those wolves and realize, there were wolves in Hawk's Nest, that would be the way to get back to try to get some of these, try to just almost exponentially get these levels.
Yeah, he did have one easy wolf fight, although mcgrew, when he encountered a wolf, it did run away. So it's hard to know this whole thing about these monsters running away. It's I thought there were some pretty good monsters right west of the castle in the desert there, but if they're all running away, then what good is it? So back into Charlotte goes the Datyedyeguy. Dive number 2.
Yep, only about 6 minutes or so between the first and second attempts for the Datyedyeguy.
And no encounters on the top floor there, so it's a better start than what he had earlier when he ran into the gold man on 3 steps into the floor there. And another really long walk without many encounters, so this dive going much better already. Able to run from the warlock twice.
And now a Magi Wyvern.
One of the big challenges is that a lot of enemies, you just really can't run away from them the way you can in a standard flags race, because the agility stats can sometimes be so high in Chaos. So, like right there, he chose to go ahead and fight through that Magi Wyvern because he just couldn't run away.
Oh, but a gold man with a back attack, he uses the sleep. Oh, but he only attacks, he doesn't use the Dragon Lord Breath, and he's able to run away.
And we're seeing him fight through this Magi Wyvern again. I think for each individual monster, you're going to have an individual strategy to get through this Charlock. In some cases, you might try and cast a sleep spell and then run away. Other times you might fight, and other times you might just run. You might even have to throw a hurt more at a couple of them. So in some cases, you might not be able to get to the bottom with all of your MP if you're going to have to use these tactics on these monsters just to get through. But he's having a really good dive right now.
His agility, as noted in chat, his agility is kind of on the low side. I believe he has 81 agility from what I saw when he checked his statistics.
And mcgrew seems to be settling on a desert patch near the coastline here. I'm not sure what part of the world this is, but we have a Wraith Knight for one. Not sure what the real high value enemy is that he's targeting, but he thinks that this is the spot.
Wizards that have been giving 153 apiece.
Yeah, and he's using sleep. These are not necessarily very fast battles either. But, you know, it is an enemy that's not running away. That is giving 150 experience. So, I guess sometimes that's what you need to do. It seems like this can't really be the best spot to grind, but this is what he's come up with.
And casting sleep and running away from the Demon Knight is the Datyedyeguy.
Yeah, that puts him one heal more down. He had a couple of extra MP to spare to cast a few sleep or stop spells, but now he's done it a few times. He's down to 85 MP now. Still a really good dive though. He's getting through this a lot better than he did the first time around. I think he still has all his herbs as well.
And mcgrew, realizing that he's not too far away from level 14, about another 177. And not even bothering with the werewolf.
And it looks like the Datyedyeguy is still a little bit too far away from 18 to entertain the thought of getting it on the way down here. He would have to really take a pit stop, maybe on the mini boss, and just do several fights. I think he's got to get into what was it, 12,500 or so?
12,261. So right now he is 1,661 away.
Yeah, so if he's going to go for the Dragon Lord level 17, these ratios would be good enough with the Death Necklace normally. It's just a matter of whether or not Chaos has decided that we're going to have a difficult boss battle or not. Even Dragon Lord 1 can occasionally be a hassle. So
those two can the Drake that are just breathing fire everywhere.
Ouch. Oh, he actually has used most of his herbs, so...
Yeah, he has one herb left.
And now he's under 80 MP, so now it's getting to be more dicey with whether he has enough resources to finish the fight. Dragon Lord 2 could have relatively few hit points, though, so it's still worth trying.
Yeah, now's definitely a good time to talk about the Dragon Lord and what it can do. Now, Dragon Lord 1, as mcgrew goes up to level 14. Dragon Lord 1 is just as randomized as all of the other enemies here. So it could have high strength. I mean, we've seen it attack for as high as 81 hit points. It could have Dragon Lord Breath. It could have Sleep. It could have a bunch of different things.
And what's the mini boss going to be here?
Approaching. Dealing with. Oh, looks like it's another Warlock.
Yeah, these have been fairly easy for him, so not a big deal. He is going with the hurt more anyways. He had some MP to spare there. So he will have 9 heal mores going into the fight.
As I was mentioning, the second form of Dragon Lord, in the vanilla version of the game, it has 130 hit points. In standard Dragon Warrior Randomizer, has a range of 150 to 165 as the Datyedyeguy puts on the necklace, the death necklace, so it's going to give him an additional 10 attack at the cost of 25% of his max hit points.
Let's see if Dragon Lord 1 has a problematic here.
He one-shots him for 55, so we're going to go into this battle now. The Dragon Lord can have anywhere from as low as 100 hit points to as high as 230, as his first attack is on the low side for 10.
Yeah, and he got back attack too, which is one less attack he'll have for this battle now before he has to heal up.
He's at 23.
So far, not even throwing out a stop spell. He's just going for it. And so far, no sleep spell from the Dragon Lord 2.
Yes, Dragon Lord 2 can also cast either sleep or heal. mcgrew checking his stats at level 15.
And the experience gap has been cut to 4,000. But all that would be for naught if the Datyedyeguy finishes him off right here.
We'll see. He's up to 84 on the Dragon Lord, but running low on resources, down to 3 heal mores. He hits him for 18. He's up to 102, so any strike here could be the final one. He attacks again for 16. He's up to 118.
We attacked on 46. Oh!
Oh, he just barely hangs on. Gets hit with another fire. He's got to do a double heal more here. So he's used his last one. Only a couple of attacks left. 15. He's up to 143. His last YOLO shot, and it's not going to be enough. So we know that the Dragon Lord
took all the risks that he could. Attacking on 46 hit points there is a 25 and potentially slightly higher chance of death, depending on whether the Dragon Lord is able to physical you for that much. But, well, now he has some information. No sleep and no heal to speak of. At least it didn't appear in this one. And at least 140-something hit points, so he'll use that information and to reevaluate.
At least 155.
Meanwhile, that's 2 dives for the Datyedyeguy, and mcgrew has been grinding this whole time. So the experience gap has been cut even further. It looks like it's still around 4,000 is the experience lead here. And so is the Datyedyeguy going to dive again, or is he going to go for 18? That's the question.
Yeah, the drawback to being cursed is that the king pretty much wants nothing to do with you. He says, out you go, be gone. And theoretically, if you wanted to remove the curse, you could go to Breckenary, and there is a man who removes the curse and in turn destroys the death necklace, so you won't be able to reacquire it. And you also don't keep the statistics from the death necklace, so you would revert your max hit points back to what it was prior to that 25% reduction, and you would lose that 10 attack power. In this case, going back down to 129 for him.
Yeah, and as a side note with that, he never did get the princess, so if he does go to 18 and it turns out to be a true MTI level and he feels like he's got to go more, he'll have no way of knowing how much he needs to grind. We saw this in last night's race, as a matter of fact. Since you're cursed, you can't get the information from the king, and in this case, I guess in theory he could go and rescue the princess. There's no lock, swamp lock in that way, but yeah, so he won't be able to get that information every time he fails to dive.
And chat noting that even though you're cursed and the king kicks you out, it's not as much or even really any kind of a drawback, in that the text that you would get from the king, you basically lose out on the lecture, so it probably saves you about 10 seconds in king lecture time.
Yeah, it tends to take about 10 seconds, I think, to stay at an inn as well. So, but yeah, it's not that bad once you have the Erdrick's armor, and you know, you have plenty of ways to get out of the castle alive. Now, I wonder if he's gonna try for these wolves in this desert tile here.
Well, that looks to be the case, as mcgrew is going to enter Sharlock. So if the Datyedyeguy
quickly
can...
up to level 15 while we were watching.
Yeah, he got there about 5 minutes ago. He's still got another 1,700 or so to get to level 16, so I guess that's why he figures now's a good time to dive.
Yeah, he might have a suspicion that he's a little bit behind and wants to get the jump on it. Maybe he thinks he can get a level on the way down. It could potentially be a multiple level up. So, you know, not a bad play. It's pretty aggressive if you do have a Dragon Lord with low HP. Maybe you need slightly less resources. He's also going to get some information about how bad the dive is, about how many of these enemies have Dragon Lord breath and that sort of thing. So I don't mind this play.
And Amazing Ampharos noting in chat as the Datyedyeguy working on the grind that Hawk's Nest looking even better, as most of the enemies that you're going to encounter are on the generous
Poltergeist
side.
is here too. He's worth a ton as well. My goodness. Yeah, this is a great grind spot. Well done for the
4 out of
Datyedyeguy
5 enemies that are in Hawk's Nest, not counting the regenerated spot, give at least 114 experience. The metal slimes at 114, the druins at 178, the poltergeists at 198, and the wolves at 252. So as long as you go with those and run away from stone men, you can just smash on them. And as we see, the Datyedyeguy is just 111 experience away from level 18.
Yeah, this seems to be a far superior grind than anything mcgrew found out there in the desert. So, you know, if mcgrew fails this dive, then he's going to have to find something to compete with this. And not very far away from 18 now. Datyedyeguy. Did he just get it, or did he just run out of MP?
No, he got it. He got another 7 attack, 1 response speed, 7 hit points, and 17 MP.
Oh, that's really good, actually. Yeah, so he's up to 110 MP now to go with 7 more attack power. That's a much better ratio for him now. I think that puts him at 146 attack power if we're
with the deck
this, which is normally you only need about 8 heal mores at that level to take on a vanilla Dragon Lord, or a standard flags Dragon Lord, I should say. So he would have to have probably about max HP in order to withstand the assault here this time. I think it's time to dive.
Well, his attack range on Dragon Lord 2 would be between 11 and 23. believe we have him at 146 with the death necklace in terms of attack power.
Yeah, I had thought that he was at 129 a while back, then he put on the death necklace, and then 7 more would be 146. That could be slightly off, but either way, this is a really good ratio for him now. I think that he should be able to do 200 plus damage to this Dragon Lord, which so far doesn't even seem to have the heal spell available. So, wow, let's see if he can get through these enemies on the way, though. That's the key.
Datyedyeguy is back into Sherlock, 1 level higher. mcgrew, meanwhile, struggling at level 15. He puts the Drakey to sleep and is able to run away.
Yeah, I'm not sure how close mcgrew is to 16 here if he was going to try and get it on the way, but maybe he's just going to go and get some information about the Dragon Lord at level 15. We'll see.
To answer the question in chat, how far into Dragon Lord 2? 154 was where the Datyedyeguy got to. So on that second attempt. So we know that the Dragon Lord has at least 155 hit points and can have at most 230.
So will mcgrew curse himself right here on this on this dubious attempt?
Well, he's got 125 attack.
Oh, he does not put on the death necklace, so this is an informational fight here. 125 is not going to let him do a lot of damage.
6 to 12, yeah. We see that the Dragon Lord hits pretty hard. Oh, and he's only got 42 to start. If he gets back attacked, that's it for him. And he gets back attacked!
Oh, no information gained there. That's a shame. Yep. It almost seemed like he should have maybe used the heal more on the Dragon Lord 1 just so that he could get the information. That's a bummer. So he's 1,500 away from another level.
So
now go, Z. What are you waiting for, Z?
Meanwhile, the Datyedyeguy getting slept and wrecked by a gold man.
All right, so dive number 3 is in the books. Let's go for 4. Leave at once. So we got the king saying leave at once on one guy, and now go Z on the other. He's very adamant, this king.
Well, he's eager. He's eager for the Dragon Lord to be stopped.
The Datyedyeguy having to deal with formidable enemies without being able to heal up his resources here first. So, well, now he gets to an end.
Well, oddly enough, he had 95 MP. I guess it restores your MP, but not your HP?
Oh, and using the swag door to get through and restock his herbs. There you go. You got all those keys, you might as well use them. Save a few seconds there. It's going to have to go back and stay at the end anyways, I think.
Oh, definitely. Now, the other thing, the Datyedyeguy doesn't know how much experience it takes to get to level 19, as he's awaiting this troll NPC to get out of his way. Because he's cursed, and because he doesn't have Princess Gwaylin's love to let him know how much experience is to the next level, he has no idea. So there's no plan of grinding.
Yeah, and if that level up was worse than it was, that could be a source of angst for him. But I think he's pretty content with this level being the level. But yeah, if that would be unfortunate if he's just a few hundred points away from another level or something and just doesn't know it.
mcgrew, meanwhile, with no information about Dragon Lord 2, as he wasn't even able to get one single attack on him. As mcgrew now going in. And just seconds behind him is the Datyedyeguy.
So again, mcgrew does have the information about his next level. I wouldn't be surprised if he tries pretty hard to get it on the way down. You're gonna have to fight some of these guys anyways, choosing which ones to run from and which ones to fight along the way.
Oh, we've got a gold man with the back attack on mcgrew. Only getting attacked, though. Lucking out there and able to run away just to run into another one that also back attacks mcgrew and puts him to sleep. And now we're seeing that DL2 breath.
We got the wombo combo full effect. And he's got to wake up. Wake up! And even when you wake up, it's hard to run from these guys. So
there we go.
That's the enemy of the seed, I think.
There have certainly been a few of them.
They're in the same spot at the same time on this dive.
The only difference, the Datyedyeguy has 3 additional levels on mcgrew. So that added strength, those added hit points, those added magic points, that higher agility, it gives the Datyedyeguy the edge, but mcgrew certainly with the experience.
Going with the hurt more against the gold man, doesn't want to mess around with that sleep combo that sent him home a minute ago. So he will be burning some MP on the way down. He has some MP to spare, of course, with his high attack power now. So I think it's a good idea to figure out which enemies to use your magic against so that you can safely make it down. mcgrew just refusing to heal himself up. I think he's got some herbs still, doesn't he? Just going with the walk. He manages to find a nice long walk, so he's healing back up the hard way.
He's trying to save as many resources as he can, knowing that it's pretty dicey at level 15. Meanwhile, another advantage that the Datyedyeguy utilizing as he hurt-mores all these gold men, with them giving 227 experience apiece, he is still able to maintain an experience lead. He's already up to 13,808. Now going to cross the 14,000 mark.
Yeah, mcgrew I don't think has defeated hardly any of these enemies, so he's still a good 12 to 1,500 away from his next level. I thought that he would have a strategy of trying to get the next level on the way down, but yeah, I'm surprised he doesn't seem to have the stats that you would want to do a dive here.
And
but he's going for it.
With that, the Datyedyeguy now has about a 6,700 experience lead.
Ooh, my screen just paused for a minute there. I thought maybe he had just leveled up, but I just got some buffering. So, still has not reached level 19. You never know when it could come.
mcgrew now on the bottom floor of Sherlock once again. This is his second dive attempt.
It's crazy. Did the Datyedyeguy take a wrong turn? Because they were at the same spot a minute ago, and he's still 3 floors away from the bottom here.
Well, he's been fighting the enemies, whereas mcgrew has been running away. And that has been the distinct difference. And Captain Bardo, the level ups, yes, the statistics are randomized. Even more so in Chaos. They're a bit more fixed in the standard version of the game, and I believe, yes, the Datyedyeguy is leveled up to 19.
Looks like mcgrew has decided that the sleep run is the best way to deal with the Datyedyeguy, and he casts a hurt spell on the Demon Knight. Maybe he was trying for the sleep spell. So going with the sleep run against this enemy as well. So that's bleeding away his MP, what meager resources he started with here. He's down to 10 heal mores.
So an additional 5 strength, that's going to put him up to 141 without the death necklace, so 151 with the death necklace. So that gives you an attack range of 12 to 25 on Dragon Lord 2.
Yeah, any boost in power is definitely significant when it comes to Dragon Lord fights, so that just makes it even easier.
Hit up by a wizard.
Now even the Datyedyeguy guy's down to 74 MP as well, so both having difficult dives here so far. mcgrew having to burn some magic, so he has less than the 10 MP. He has only 9 heal mores now, and looks like he may not use the Death Necklace again. So again, it looks like just for information on mcgrew's side here, he wants to see what the Dragon Lord 2 has up his sleeve.
Stop spell cast, and he is able to one-shot him with no damage. So now a back attack isn't going to.
Oh, the Datyedyeguy guy just can't wake up, and he started this dive with 110 MP, and he's in danger of dying here.
He's gonna put the Demon Knight to sleep and run away.
Alright, so now mcgrew hopefully will get several rounds of information and see that he does not have the sleep spell. And that will probably be good enough information for him to figure out what to do next.
And Datyedyeguy, actually, mcgrew has strength agility, as it's a good thing to note that the competitors, well, with anyone who puts in Dragon or plays Dragon Warrior, when you put in your name, whatever you put the first 4 letters of your name as, it provides a calculation that gives a boost to 2 of your statistics throughout the game and a little bit of a penalty to the other 2, whether it be strength, agility, hit points, or magic points. So the Datyedyeguy going with the capital Z, that is a strength hit point bonus build, whereas mcgrew's using the lowercase z, which is a strength and agility build. So mcgrew, as he goes along, his strength and agility will be a little bit higher, but his hit points and magic points will be a little bit lower. In the case of the Datyedyeguy, his strength and hit points will be a little bit higher, and his agility and magic points will be a little bit lower.
So this has become not a sure thing for the Datyedyeguy. He's had to burn a ton of MP getting to this point. Now, if I've been tracking this even remotely accurately, I think he's got about 151 attack power, which you could generally do it with about 7 or 8 heal mores in a standard flags, 150 to 160 kind of Dragon Lord too. If he's got like 210 or 220 HP, this could be not doable here. This could be very close now.
Well, we'll see here an opening attack of 24. And another 20.
Good rolls.
Oh, and 25. Wow, he is getting some high rolls early here. Already up to 96 in 4 attacks.
Well, it's looking more likely now if he can keep that up. That's some pretty good damage.
Well, now a little bit more even on with 13 for 109. On another 20. So far, 5 out of 6 attacks have been for 20 or more. And another one at 23. So he's already up to 152. So this next attack will put him above where he was before. Another 14. So we're at 166.
Any of these attacks could be the one.
And he hits for 16, and that's still not quite enough as he's at 182. Just one more heal more left. He hits for 22, so we're over 200 at 204. Decides to YOLO with another hit, and he does it.
Wow, that was some seriously good rolls he had there. I thought that was going to be pretty close with those resources. Well done to Datyedyeguy, getting it done in under 2 hours.
So, ladies and gentlemen, get out your GGs for the Datyedyeguy, who pulls off the upset and will advance to the semifinals of our tournament with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 54 minutes, and 16 seconds. Get out your GGs for Datyedyeguy.
Very well done. And so he was at level 19, is that right? So mcgrew has, I believe, about 6,000 experience to go if he wants to play this out. We'll have to see what he wants to do.
Well, I think he wants to at least get to level 16 and give it one more try, which at this point he is about 800 experience away. But it looks like the differential, I mean, grinding certainly had a lot to do with it, just finding those appropriate enemies and just that little bit of an early lead early on that just slowly crept up more and more as the seed went on.
Yeah, the Datyedyeguy did a great job of just keeping the pedal to the metal, of gaining those levels while he was running around and taking care of all the quest items and exploration. He was picking and choosing the right enemies to fight. Really nice job there. He basically broadened that experience gap throughout the whole race.
Yeah, the finding of a grind spot was and even continues to be a challenge for mcgrew, as he has settled on the spot with the wizards, but the wizards are not they're not an ideal enemy. Datyedyeguy being able to find those wolves in Hawk's Nest, and Lord of the Synth noting in chat, if only that wolf hadn't run away after taking only 4 damage, and that being the difference, that mcgrew getting into Hawk's Nest a little bit earlier and not quite as powerful. I mean, he got to Erdrick's armor about an hour and 4 minutes in, but at that point he had just hit level 10, versus when the Datyedyeguy had gotten into Hawk's Nest, it was about an hour in. At that point, he was closing in on level 15. So that right there was the difference, and that allowed the lead to start to grow exponentially. And we have our Victor Datyedyeguy here in the Discord chat. Congratulations and GG. Way to pull off the upset.
Ooh, yeah, I was getting real nervous there, man. I was thinking I made a big mistake at the end, hanging on to the death necklace the whole time. But I'm glad it all worked out in the end. So, oof.
Well, to give a little bit of a recap, as mcgrew at the moment, he had some early struggles, but not as you have seen in some of these races where it takes a half hour to get your first kill. He ended up leveling up to 4 around the 6-minute mark. So by that point, it was pretty even, although you were maybe a level ahead at that point. And then he ran into some struggles between level 4 and 5, but by that point, you were off to the races, and by the time he got to level 5, you were already at level 8.
Oh, he probably didn't find the Druid and the Metal Scorpion just west of Tangelo, I take it then.
He eventually did, but ultimately, as we had mentioned before you had gotten in here, it was that matter of finding a grind spot, as mcgrew now getting to level 16.
Yeah, just to jump in on that too, Datyedyeguy, you balanced in the early game some of your grinding with a little bit of extra exploration, and you made a run across the swamp there and found the town with that flame sword. I think that was a pretty big difference maker, because mcgrew at that point had found that desert with the Druids, and he was just grinding with no weapon, and he just kind of struggling to make progress. And when you had that flame sword for a good 15 or 20 minutes before he found a weapon, I think that made it a big difference.
I bet it would, yeah.
Yeah, you opted to go into, oh goodness, I want to say that was Cantlin that had it, as opposed to mcgrew, and we were debating this at the time for both you and mcgrew. He opted to stick around that area and grind up to get the 1,527 gold for the broadsword, which was a bit more time consuming. So it was one of those risk-reward type things. Plus, you were the first to Cole to get the inexpensive magic armor. As a Sports Hefe noting in chat, you were the first to Cantlin to get that really inexpensive flame sword. And that combination of the magic armor and the flame sword, that just made taking those enemies out so much easier. So you ended up going from level 2 to level 8 in about 5 minutes, maybe. As opposed to mcgrew, who only getting that broadsword and just he had the right ideas. It's just everything you had done was a bit more efficient. Similarly, you had found that wolves were pretty easily defeatable in Hawk's Nest, and even in the late part of the game, you went back to Hawk's Nest and realized, hey, this is a pretty good grind spot, because you saw that 4 out of the 5 enemies gave at least 100 experience, and most of them were pretty easy to kill. I mean, the poltergeist for 198, the wolves for 252, even the metal slimes for 114 weren't too shabby.
Yeah. I after that first dive or two, I was thinking, man, I definitely need some more survivability and MP just to make it down to the Dragon Lord again. So yeah, I was making notes, and I was like, oh yeah, Hawk's Nest, that's the best place to be. Because I think there was maybe one other monster we found that was over 200. The Gold Man, which was, I don't want to fight them because man, those were nasty.
Yeah, the only other enemies, there were 3 by my count that had over 200 experience. Yeah, the Gold Man, the Wolf, and the Metal Scorpion. But they had Dragon Lord Breath and Stop Spell and were kind of pesky on the early game. But that, I believe, that Metal Scorpion, I want to say that was what mcgrew had, I'm trying to remember now what mcgrew had taken out to get from level 2 to 4.
So what was your thought process when you decided finally, I think you went and did a couple of dives at 17. I think you knew how far it was away from 18. It was almost 3,000 experience or something. That had to be a deciding factor on when you did choose to dive. And then when you realized how difficult it would be getting through Sharlock, what was your thought process? And were you looking at the clock? What were you thinking during that time?
Oh, I was definitely looking at the clock, but I was with the gold men in the first couple levels, which, you know, tough to run away, and they have the wombo combo there to take you down. It's like, well, you're gonna have to burn some NP, burning them down. And then the demon knights, which I did not expect to be in Sharlock, just being annoying pests because you can't get away from them. Oh, I have to cast sleep on them. Well, that's more NP. And then after the first successful fight, and I think I made it to 150 some damage, and yeah, he didn't go down. I was like, well, I'm going to need at least 70 something MP again to get there. Plus, I could probably level up, and yeah, then there was the choice of hang on to the death necklace, hang on to the experience I already got, go to Hawk's Nest, grind up the next level, and hope it's enough. And got a good chunk of MP from that, got another 7, I think, strength, and it just made all the difference. Because man, and once with that, I was like, okay, I gotta be able to make it. Because then it was just a matter of, once you make it to the Dragon Lord, and you have, approximately 60, 70 MP, you're probably going to be able to take them down. So that was my
So when you say the thought of whether or not to hold on to the death necklace, did you mean after you had put it on and you failed to fight, did you have some thoughts of going to Brockenary and uncursing yourself?
Oh, I had a thought of resetting, because I saved at the king right beforehand. So I could have reset and I would lose the XP I gained while diving, and then I'd have to process again, so you have extra MP to hopefully survive a sleep, hurt more / dragon breath attack from a gold man or a demon knight.
Yeah, that makes sense if you're okay with losing the experience. So yeah, that's an interesting decision, I guess, to make. You decided not to do that, and you kept the death necklace on and saved your experience, which ultimately you did need another level. So I think that worked out for you.
Yeah, definitely. And then after the next level, having another, 122, I think, HP, it ended up working out, having enough to power through what you needed to. Because it was really the first couple levels, once you get past the Goldman, it wasn't just dangerous, then it was just a battle of attrition of casting sleep on all the demon knights to get through.
Yeah, and of course, once you did get that first level, when you're cursed, you don't know how much it is to get another level. I think you did get one more on the way. Yep, but it wasn't something you necessarily planned because you didn't have a target to shoot for. But Was there anything else about the earlier part of the seed that you found interesting or challenging?
It was a pretty neat map. You know, the way you had a couple solid paths to follow, and
Yeah, it took you quite a long time to find the Rainbow Drop Cave. I think that was one of the things that we were wondering if mcgrew was going to have a chance to catch up while you were finding that. It was like the only thing left, and it seemed to take quite a while because of where it was on that map.
yeah, it was like probably the farthest point away from the castle, I think. But yeah, I was looking through my notes. It's like, man, I gotta know where this stupid thing is. I'll try to get experience as I go. But yeah, such a long, windy path, and if you miss one little thing, you miss the whole path that shoots off to another island or whatever. Swamp Cave was useless. That was something. And I definitely regretted there at the end. Man, I really should have saved the princess, so I would have had the token, so I would have known how much to level up. Because yeah, once I've said, well, I'm hanging on to the death necklace, yeah, then it was hopefully I don't have to level up again, because that would have been trouble. But yeah, I mean, the map was good. I mean, nothing was too crazy. A couple groups of towns was fun to stumble upon. It was definitely a boost to the morale. But yeah. It was good. Nothing too crazy. Some tough monsters in the beginning. Not much really given much experience. Like I said, the metal scorpions were kind of everywhere. But yeah, there wasn't much of a good good experience grind until you're strong enough to take on Hawksness, I think.
Yeah, I liked most of the decisions you made all throughout. It seemed like everything just flowed really nicely. You even found a way to trigger a gold grind while you were exploring Mountain Cave, and then you came out, got the Silver Shield. So you were pretty much all equipped up at that point. Didn't really have to make any out-of-the-way side trips to get those things done. It all seemed to just kind of flow with the exploration you were doing. So, yeah, I think it was a really well-played seed. You're in the semifinals now, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, sorry
that
I broke everyone's brackets. I apologize for that.
You broke everyone's brackets.
Between you tonight and High Spirits last night, yeah, the ever rare 6-7 seed matchup coming up in the semifinals. Not one that you often see. The 2 and 3 seed both upset. That should certainly be certainly should be a lot of fun, and that'll be coming up sometime in the next couple of weeks here after the Randomania Marathon that'll be starting up in just a little less than 48 hours from now.
So mcgrew did have to burn a little bit of MP just at the end there, so he's got only 10 heal mores, and he's on level 17 still. I'm not sure. That Dragon Lord had a lot of HP, so...
Yeah, I lost track
so
at
sure about
the
this.
final fight. Do we know what the total was around?
Well, your final strike got up to 226, so it was somewhere between 205 and 226.
Yeah, you had a lot of really high rolls during that fight. You had a little bit of resources left over. You probably were going to get him anyway, but it turned out that he had a ton of HP.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
I'm not sure if mcgrew's going to manage this or not, but it'll be interesting to see. He's in the Dragon Lord 2 fight now.
Oh, yeah.
He's got 15 to start.
And he put on the necklace, I think, so yeah, he definitely needs that extra attack. But he'll need some double hits, I think.
Yeah, he had been down here a couple times earlier and chose not to use the necklace at that time. I think he knew that he was mostly looking for information at that time about the Dragon Lord. He was like on level 15 at one point in this battle, so wisely not using the necklace there. But now I think he knows it's time to go for it. It's going to be close.
Well, let's see here. We've got another hit for 10, so he's up to 66. Now, to give you an idea, Datyedyeguy guys, he had 11 hits to take out the Dragon Lord. 8 of them were for 20 or more.
Yeah, the first 3 hits, that was what, 25, 24, and another 20. I was like, well, I'm just going to stop counting now. I can't count that fast. I hope it all works out in the end. Those are I was like, if every hit's like this is nothing. I got real lucky there.
That was almost. I mean, you had 24, 24, 25, and 23 for your first 4 hits.
I think that my first round was a double or triple attack as well. So it was, yeah, crazy good luck there. Better lucky than good, you know.
All right, only one heal more left for McGrew.
Well, he's up to 136, and he's down to his last heal more.
Oh, yeah.
Unless he
Seems
throws
unlikely.
a yellow hurt more out here. 146.
Yeah, he just didn't have the information about the target HP, so good try from McGrew. See if he wants to try again.
And the forfeit comes in.
All right, well played. McGrew, nice job on that race. It was worth a shot. It seemed like he may have had a shot there if things went a little bit differently on the dive and on the attack rolls, but yeah, really high HP with that Dragon Lord.
Yeah, it was just man, that range though. I mean, that the 151 attack that you had at level 18 with the death necklace. I mean, that gave an attack range of 12 to 25, and as I said, you had rolled really high for the only ones that were below 20. You had a 13, a 14, and a 16, but the rest of them 24, 24, 25, 23, 20, 23, 22, and 22. It was just unbelievably high rolls. And McGrew joining us here in chat. Gallant effort.
Yeah, it just wasn't happening that time.
It was, I mean, where to start? But it turns out that the Dragon Lord did have at least 200 hit points. So it was definitely a challenge. The Datyedyeguy ended up going all the way up to 19 and used the death necklace to be able to take him out, and got some really high rolls along the way as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was hearing there when I hopped in. So I'm guessing he found a better grind spot than I did, or something.
He did, and that's something that we were noting, and this was some misfortune on your part. It turned out that the place for him to go was Hawk's Nest.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that one.
As the wolf that you had encountered, you had taken a swipe at it, hit it for 4, because it was still early on. I think you were only at level 10 at the time when you had acquired the Erdrick's armor. So you had hit him for 4. He only had about 8 hit points, or maybe a little less than that, and gave 252 experience.
Ah.
So between that, there were also Druins in there that gave
and that wolf, I think, ran away from you in that fight too. So you just didn't get a chance to see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Druins with 178, Poltergeist with 198, the Metal Slimes for 114, and the Stone Men, they didn't give a whole lot. But 4 out of the 5 enemies giving at least 100 experience. It just allowed for the levels to come quick for the Datyedyeguy, and that ended up being at least a little bit of a factor. Plus, early on, he had taken the risk rather than what you had done, McGrew, was you had kind of hung around Cole and decided to grind for the 1,527 gold to get the broadsword. He decided to take the risk and go across that large swamp and got to Cantlin and was able to get that much more inexpensive flame sword considerably earlier. So those combination of factors just allowed the levels to roll up quick. So by the time you had gotten to level 5, he was already midway to level 9, and it just kind of stacked up from there.
Yep. And just everything had Dragonlord breath. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, we counted 7 different enemies that had Dragonlord breath. Drakies, ghosts, metal scorpions, goldmen, knights, werewolves, and the armored knights.
Yeah.
So they made it a little treacherous as well.
Yep. It seemed like everything I ran into had Dragonlord breath early on. That's kind of why I started grinding a little bit. I didn't have any kind of heal spell or anything, and thought, well, I'll grind a few levels, and while I'm at it, I'll get the broadsword.
You were just trying to find something that wouldn't burninate you, basically.
Yeah.
Sports Hefe knowing in chat. Did Poltergeist also have it? Did I miss that along the way? Did Poltergeist also have the Dragonlord 2 breath?
I don't think so.
I don't remember.
Okay.
They were good experience, but yeah, I don't think they had.
Yeah, they were good experience.
breath.
Yeah, I didn't see that they had.
Oh,
I know
Poltergeist,
the
no, they
Scorpion
didn't.
surprised you. They were pretty easy kills early on for 211 experience, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, oh hey, Dragon Lord breath as well. That was a nice surprise. Oh, it was saying as far as what was in Hawksness. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Druins, Poltergeist, Wolves, Metal Slimes, and Stone Men. So those ended up being a good grind spot, even just in terms of encounters.
Yeah, that was one I didn't even consider really. I was kind of wandering around the overworld looking for a decent spot to grind. The only thing I found was that little desert area with the wizards, but
With Wizards, yeah, they give you 153 apiece, but they were pretty tough to fight on.
yeah, it took about 3 or 4 swipes to take them out.
So yeah, now the brackets, I'm pretty sure, are officially busted here, as it's going to be the ever rare 6-7 matchup in the semifinals of High Spirits against the Datyedyeguy. And coming up, actually tomorrow night, just a little less than 24 hours from now, is going to be the third of our quarterfinal matchups, as it's going to be the number 4 seed Angry Larry against the number 5 seed Ryusation. That'll be a 10:30 Eastern time start here among the Randomania networks. And also make sure to tune in tomorrow for the Final Fantasy I Randomizer League and the continuation of the Pokemon Crystal Cinco Bingo Tournament here among the Randomania networks. Any final thoughts from our racers and up to NG here as far as everything going on with the seed, and any thoughts to Datyedyeguy of your upcoming match a little over a week from now, I suppose?
All right. Well, first, yeah, good game, mcgrew. That was a good race. But I mean, I'm just gonna try and get some sleep. That's 2 races in a week. They've been pretty long. I'm ready to take a break for a little bit and enjoy some of that Randomania marathon coming up.
Yeah, great tournament, mcgrew.
Yep.
Good race tonight. Well done.
Thank you. Give it a shot anyway. But hey, it gives me time to focus on the disassembly of this game. So
The important stuff. Very nice.
The behind the scenes things from the creator, the Frankenstein of this game here, is mcgrew. And the Datyedyeguy mentioned it, and it's up there in chat. The Randomania Randomizer Marathon. It starts this Friday night, March 23rd through Saturday, March 31st. It'll be a whole week, roughly 170 straight hours of streamed randomized games, including Dragon Warrior and a few sequels, as well as Final Fantasy, The Legend of Zelda, Chrono Trigger, Mega Man, Super Mario Brothers, Castlevania, Secret of Mana, and a whole bunch more. Check out the full schedule. It's there in chat, or if you're watching us here on YouTube, it's at hararo.org/randomania/2018. I believe that's going to just about wrap things up here. Make sure to give our runners a follow, mcgrew as well as the Datyedyeguy. I want to thank our restreamer, OPT Lawyer, for keeping things on the proverbial broadcast here, as well as our tracker, High Spirits, the upcoming opponent of the Datyedyeguy here. And for my broadcast partner, Up to NG, I'm Ferran Burgundy, saying until next time, may your moves be excellent and your seeds stay classy. Good night, everyone.